I'm very delighted to welcome you to our Open Doors Week, which is going to start with our webinar for master's programs in Arts and Humanities. And my name is Anna, and I'm gonna moderate this session today. And our program is as follows. So first, we are gonna have all the presentations of the programs that are represented here, such as Semiotics, Philosophy, Sound and Visual Technology, European Languages and Cultures, and Folkloristic and Applied Heritage Studies. And today with me, I'm having program managers who are gonna basically introduce their programs and answer your questions. So after all the presentations are done, we are gonna proceed to QA session. I would like to ask you to leave your questions under QA box. You can see it there, so not under the chat, because it will be easier for us to take over these questions after, but please leave your questions at any point of this webinar, and then in the end, we will gonna cover them. The only thing that I would like to ask you is if you know that the programs that you're referring to, please, in the end of your question, just write the name of the program. For instance, if you're referring to philosophy or semiotics, so you can just write philosophy and then your question. So I will immediately address your question to program manager from this program. So today, we are going to present semiotics, and here I have Ellie with me, who is a program manager from semiotics. Then we are going to proceed with philosophy, then with European languages and cultures, then with folkloristic and applied heritage studies, and finally, the last presentation is going to be sound and visual technology. And yes, I should also present our program managers. So I have here Ellie from semiotics, I have Kadri from sound and visual technology, I have Francesco from philosophy, I have Riley from European languages and cultures, and I have Elohanna from folkloristics and applied heritage studies. So please do not forget to leave your questions. And right now I'm going to give a floor to Ellie, who is going to introduce semiotics. Ellie, please, the floor is yours. Ellie, I think you're also muted right now.
So, hello everyone, can you hear me now? Okay, so I am actually not the program manager, but I am a coordinator for international students of semiotics in Tartu, and I am here today to introduce the program to you. So first of all, I'll just give a brief overview about the semiotics in Tartu, then more precisely about the English curriculum, semiotic research done in the department, and also some extracurriculum activities and events that take place in addition to your studies. As semioticians often are cornered with the question what semiotics is, you may already know, but semiotics is it's a general study of sign processes or semiosis, and sign processes make the world meaningful. As Thomas Sebeok, who is known for being founder of SOA semiotics, but also active in general semiotics of 20th century, has said, to be alive is to be semiotically active. So if you come to study semiotics, you will get an extensive general understanding of theoretically how these processes take place. And the Department of Semiotics in the University of Tartu is one of the leading centers of semiotics in Europe, and Tartu has deep roots in semiotics of culture and biosemiotics, especially because of works of Yuri Lotman, the founder of Tartu Moscow Semiotic School. You may have heard of him, related to the concept semiosphere. And also the forerunner of biosemiotics, Jakob von Uexküll, and maybe his concept Umwelt, which is a life world of an organism. And their works form the cornerstones of Tartu Semiotic research. Also, the oldest international journal of semiotics, Science System Studies, was established by Jüri Lotman in Tartu in 1964. The department here in Tartu was established in 1992. Currently, we have 20 academic faculty members and around 120 students on 4 programs. We teach semiotics on all study levels. We have an outstanding semiotics library, which includes the memorial collection of Thomas Sebeok. The library is accessible to all the students, and the library includes most important books published in the 20th century on biology, biosemiotics, zoosemiotics, and also general theory of semiotics. And yeah, when you come here, you'll notice that our program is roughly organized in 3 areas of semiotics: semiotics of culture, social semiotics, and biosemiotics. But of course, all the areas, they're intertwined. So yeah, the 2-year program in semiotics provides really an interdisciplinary background and gives you a theoretical understanding of how to apply the methods. There's these core modules, like I mentioned, and they are all dealing with problems of meaning making and related processes. Of course, the program also combines the major semiotic traditions of Saussure and Peirce and contemporary research going on in the field. The program is 120 credit points. It's divided into 4 semesters, and the last semester of that is meant to be for your individual thesis writing mainly. The studies take place in Tartu, in Estonia, but of course it's worth mentioning that due to these pandemic circumstances, a lot of our studies this year and last year have been taking place online, and we have practiced that a lot, and we are ready to offer online or hybrid studies for students who, for example, for some travel restrictions, can't come to Tartu right away in autumn. So, of course, we really want to see you here in our seminars, but we are ready to help you with online studies as well. But there is no specific job title added to your degree, but your future work skills would include just wide analytical skills, all sorts of careers that require adaptive thinking, communication, design thinking, editing, since you are writers and readers when you come to study semiotics, and of course academic jobs. And more precisely, this international master's program semiotics you can see here on the slide, and it consists of different modules. Basic courses are meant for you to get strong understanding of semiotics and its background. The specialized courses give you an opportunity to choose what field you would be more interested in. Then also you can take elective courses, including interdisciplinary courses of graduate school in humanities. That gives you an opportunity to interact with students from other fields of humanities. Also, we have some intensive courses by, for example, PhD students or visiting lecturers. So, part of the curriculum is pretty much set for you, but next to that, you also have quite a lot of freedom to choose what you want to learn while you're here, depending on your research interest. Yes, you can also take optional courses, any course from the university interesting for you, and 30 credit points come from your master thesis. The courses are mainly 6 credit points, and the full workload for a semester is 30 credit points. And just to give you an idea of what semioticians do in Tartu, here are some ongoing research projects. For example, one of them is strategic narrative as a model for reshaping the security dilemma. And this project focuses on analysis of strategical narratives that are related with cyber security discourses. Also, from a biosemiotic side, semiotic fitting as a mechanism of biocultural diversity. Semiotic fitting is the communicative relations of how an organism or a semiotic agent fits into a novel environment. And we have a transmedia research group. They are actively involved in also really practical projects. For example, they have created this digital learning environment, education on screen, which serves to give school children an interactive and interesting way to study literature and culture and history. And last year, many books were published by our academic faculty members or in collaboration with them. You can see some of them on the slide here. Tartu is also home for several publication series like Science System Studies, Tartu Semiotics Library, Octa Semiotica Estica, that is the Estonian semiotics journal, and also Hortus Semioticus, which is an online semiotics journal. And the main focus for them is to publish students' work. So if you write an essay for a course and you want to publish it, this is one option for you, and it's peer-reviewed. Yeah, and your master thesis, of course, is an individual work, and you can choose the topic that you're most interested in yourself when you find a supervisor, and then you work together on the topic. And it's also supported by master's seminars. They start from the first semester. First, you will get to know the field, get to know the people, get to know the process, and then further on, get more on hands with your writing yourself. And yes, the fourth semester is mainly dedicated to your writing and supervising and defense. And to give you an idea, I looked up some thesis titles that have been defended in the master's program here in Tartu. So you can really see that the range is really, there are so many different kinds of things that you can do. Also, there's many academic events going on in addition to studies. Last year they mainly took place online, but now we're in this hybrid moment and probably gonna see each other face to face again soon. So just to bring out some of them, 2022, we will celebrate 100 years Jüri Lotman's birthday, and to celebrate that, there will be an international conference, Jüri Lotman's Sphere in Tartu and Tallinn. And other events related to that, for example, an exhibition in Estonian National Museum in Tartu. Semiotics department also offers an international summer university program on semiotics of culture and Jüri Lotman. This year it will take place in 2 parts. In May there will be an e-course, and in August there will be a second part of the course in Tartu. We also have many visiting professors from all around the world coming to give lectures that you can participate in. For example, next study year there will be Jan Weisner from the field of cultural psychology, basically a semiotic term in psychology, coming to teach in Tartu. There is also Semio Salon, which is an informal salon for semiotic discussions organized by semiotics students and staff members together. And this is all from me. Now you can see above there on the left the faculty members in winter of Estonia, and then down there on the right the students on Tome Hill, right here next to me. So I'm looking forward to questions later in the Q&A session. You can write me an email. You can also write to Program Director Dietrem to ask him about the studies. And yes, bye from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eli, for so insightful presentation. I encourage you to apply to semiotics. It's a very interesting program. I can see also that we have some questions, but we are going to cover the questions after all presentations are done. So please leave your questions. If you have some more questions, do not forget to leave your questions. And right now we are going to continue with Francesco, who is going to talk about philosophy. Please, Francesco.
Hi everybody. Hope you can hear me well. Thanks for being here. So I'm going to talk to you about our philosophy program, which has been running. I'm going to now share the screen. Which has been running since 2014, at least the English language version, and we have had already something like I think 50 or 60 graduates. So I'm going to just give you like 3 reasons to study philosophy in Tartu, and in doing this, of course, I will give you an overview of our program, what our program looks like, and why it might be attractive to you. And of course, I'm willing to answer any questions later. Okay, so I'm Francesco Orsi. I'm the program director of the master program. So what are these 3 reasons? One reason is, by the way, Tartu is not always so sunny as it looks in the picture here. Maybe I should have chosen a more realistic picture of Tartu. But this is our beautiful main building of the university. So one reason is definitely our faculty. Now I just posted here a few pretty faces, but apart from our pretty faces, we are ready to give you really our best. And what I mean by that is, well, a couple of things. So one is that we are really devoted teachers, really care about our students and our master students in particular. And recently, one of my colleagues, Alex Davis, has also been awarded the Best Teacher of the Year award last year. He teaches philosophy of language mainly. But apart from Alex, our supervisors, I calculated actually, on average, we devote 420 hours to our own master students. And later I will explain why so much time. And this is not counting the final master thesis. So we are like pretty devoted to our BA, but also to our master students. And we do establish pretty intense work and study relationships with our students. Another thing about our faculty is that we have published in some of the main international journals and some of the main international publishers. Now these names might perhaps not say much to all of you, but Oxford University Press and Cambridge University Press and Routledge, these are some of the main philosophy publishers in the world. And journals like Mind, you can see it here, or Philosophical Studies, Synthesis, Mind and Language. So what I can say is that our faculty has a clear like international profile in terms of our research, and so in this sense, if you come to study philosophy in Tartu, you're really going to be in good and kind of expert philosophical hands, so to speak. And one last thing about our faculty that I wanted to highlight is that our research interests are actually very, very diverse. Now I've just stuck here on this page some titles of recent articles that were published by our faculty, and as you can see, we cover a lot of different topics in philosophy. So time in philosophy and psychology, that's one topic. Situated embodiment. I don't mean that all of this must be clear to you right now, but I think this just gives you an idea of the range of our interests. Meal and sexual reform, statelessness, refugees, hospitality, are experts representative on non-experts? This is a huge topic nowadays, of course. Ethical decision-making in humanitarian medicine, conflicting models of faith in early modern philosophy, Plato on the rationality of belief. This just goes to show that we deal both with purely theoretical questions in philosophy, right? Like time in philosophy and psychology. We also deal with ethical questions, like I just showed you before, like the question of refugees, the question of sexual reform, the question of ethical decision-making, but also we deal with history of philosophy, early modern philosophy, Plato, and then some other questions, like some other topics like harms and wrongs in epistemic practice, using not tasty at the dinner table. This is a topic in the philosophy of language. What does it mean to use such words, basically, right? When something is tasty or not tasty. Communicating by doing something else. Again, this belongs to the philosophy of language. Conflict in Nietzsche's philosophy. Again, this historical perspective. So this is just to give you a really rough but kind of overview of what our interest might be and what you might yourself come to study. And I'm going to say a little bit more about this right now. Right, so your studies. So what we offer our master students is a mix of classes and what I would call tutorial style sessions. So what is a tutorial style session? A tutorial style session is when you basically study something with a professor, with a lecturer, right? And you write some essays, you write some assignments, and you meet, whether live or on Skype or whatever nowadays, right? But you meet to discuss those readings that you've done, those essays that you wrote, right? So this is what tutorial basically means. But of course, there's also going to be a large part of work that you do together with your course mates. And as you can see from this pie chart that I put here, right? You can see that the largest part of our program, right, is indeed devoted to your own interests, to what you want to study, what you want to go in depth with. So if you take this 40%, this green area, so that's the specialization. I'm going to say something more about specialization in a second. But then you have 25%, so a full quarter of your program will be devoted to your master's thesis. And then there are other parts of your program that some parts are fixed, some parts are also up to you to decide what to do with them, basically. So I thought it would be a nice idea to present our program as if it was a menu, right? So in a sense, our entree is the master seminar, which is something that runs through all the 4 semesters. So our master program is also a 2-year program. The master seminar runs through each semester, and that's a place where you definitely will join your course mates, and we'll discuss your work in progress, and you also learn essentially how to present philosophy, how to write philosophy, in general, how to present your philosophical ideas. And then the research seminar is also part of the entree. In the research seminar, you will basically meet some of our faculty who will teach you about their current research, right? So this is a very good opportunity to get to know what we are actually working on. The main course, so to speak, of our program is this specialization module, and I'm going to say something more about it in a second. The side dish, so to speak, right? The side dish is composed of 3 things: the elective subjects. Now, the elective subjects are courses, right? That in part you're free to choose which courses you want to do. In part, there's going to be a fixed list of courses that you choose from philosophy and from the rest of the humanities. Then there's the optional subjects. Now, the optional subjects are totally up to you to decide, right? It could be any course. It doesn't have to be even related to philosophy in any way. So we've had students taking, I don't know, painting classes for their optional subjects. Although painting can be related to philosophy itself. I'm not going to say that it's not related, but and then there's the practice part, the practice side dish, so to speak, where you are going to do some assisting work or some real work in some institution, or help organize some conference. There's many ways in which you can fulfill your practice part. And then comes the dessert, a big fat dessert, which is basically your master's thesis. And just like a dessert, it comes at the end of your meal, in the sense that it actually, in the last semester of your studies, you are going to basically just figure out your master's thesis and write it and then defend it. So it actually makes quite sense to present it as your dessert. Okay, so that's the menu, so to speak. That's our program. A couple of words about the specialization module, right? What is it? Basically, it's like a box, right? A box that it's up to you how to fill this box. So it's usually a mix of classes and individual studies. Okay. By classes, I mean courses that we offer in the department. We don't necessarily offer them only to master students, right? But we offer them mainly having in mind master students. And every year there's a list of courses. So if you later you might ask me, I thought I would put some links here, but perhaps if I link now, then I'm going to lose the screen sharing. So, but later we might discuss about these classes, what these classes are. And then the individual studies, right? So the individual studies is just what I talked about before. A work, that kind of study that you do with a specific lecturer, which is usually your own supervisor, right? And you agree with your supervisor about how much individual study you want to do, right? And then, like I said here, the percentage of each of these components, percentage of classes, percentage of individual studies, is up to you and your supervisor to decide. Okay, so this is just to give you a sample of what your studies will actually look like in each of the 4 semesters. So you can see there are 4 columns here with each semester, right? And here also gives you like an idea of the classes that you might take. So this particular student, for example, in the first semester, right? If you look at the first semester column, the student took 2 courses in the inside the specialization. She took main themes in philosophy of mind, and she also took a course that is not in philosophy. That was neurobiology of behavior, right? Because you're actually free within the specialization. You are free also to choose courses from outside of philosophy, as long as you and your supervisor think that those courses are actually going to be useful for you. And then the student took individual study in theoretical philosophy, as you can see, right? With her own supervisor, all right? And in the second semester, this student took, again, like 2 courses, Introduction to Epistemology, and then a reading group on mental causation, and then again,
Francesco, sorry, we cannot hear you. You are muted. Could you please unmute yourself? You are still muted. We cannot hear you.
okay, now?
Yes, now we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, but how long ago did I go mute?
I immediately, when we stopped hearing you, I immediately told you. So you basically,
okay.
On that slide that you were the last.
Okay, yeah, great, thanks. I don't know what happened, but okay. Where was I? Yeah. Right. So here you can see like what this student basically did, right? So the supervisor has a fairly important role in our program, right? He or she is the person who helps you put together your semester plan, because for each semester you're going to write up a plan of what you want to do. And so the supervisor kind of helps you compose that and decide whether it's a reasonable plan, whether it's too much work, whether it's too little work. The supervisor is also the one who supervises or advises your master's thesis, right? So it is the person to turn to whenever you have already a plan for your thesis, whenever you have like a table of contents or some ideas, right? The supervisor does individual studies with you, although you can also do these individual studies with other members of faculty. And many students actually take individual studies from not just from their own supervisor, but usually it's the supervisor who spends those 422 hours that I talked about before, right? And the supervisor has a kind of a mentor role as well, also after you finish your master's program, because it's the most likely person to write, for example, a letter of recommendation for you if you're going to apply to a PhD program, if you're going to apply also for a non-academic job, if you want to apply for a scholarship, right? Because the supervisor is the professor who knows you best, and so is the one that has more to say about you. Hopefully, has more to say something good about you, but right. So it's important that you get on well with your supervisor, right? And coming now to the dessert, that is to your master's thesis, right? I think what we expect from our students is a fairly original research work in philosophy, right? So not just some kind of summary of what other philosophers have said, right? But we want to see your own contribution to a particular philosophical question, right? So very important that you actually identify some philosophical question that you're going to pursue in your master thesis. And I've just given you here quite a random list actually of master theses that have been defended lately. So we go from topics like feminist perspectives on cybersex to unconditional basic income to can computers be creative? Then we have this discrepancy between free will and moral responsibility, logic of knowledge and demonstratives, defining empathy, playing with monsters, but not real monsters, but this is actually a topic in philosophy of language again. And then more historical topics like Kant, but on a specific problem, like Kant on manipulation and personal autonomy, for example, right? So a master thesis has to be a fairly have a fairly specific topic that you are going quite in depth into. Okay. So the last reason to choose to study philosophy in Tartu is your future. And put up this kind of funny comics here, which I think there's some truth in it. Well, this guy says, "Me, I'm going to be a philosopher. By the time I grow up, robots will be doing everything else," right? And maybe it's true, right? It's true that philosophy gives you some kind of skills, some kind of abilities, or at least it trains you to do a number of things that is going to be that probably robots, right, are not going to be able to do, and you do need the human factor, so to speak, and right. But so more specifically, I have in mind two things here. One is that you might just go on to study for a PhD, and over 50% of our graduates have done so, and we prepare you for this. Some amount of your work with your supervisor will also be devoted to preparing a PhD application, which normally includes preparing like a writing sample and some letter of motivation. And so this is very much part of the training that we give you. By the way, this is going to be useful also if you apply for some other kind of job. But of course, we are philosophers, so we know best how to train you for life as an academic, not just as a philosopher. I wanted to highlight this, that some of our students have gone on to study for a PhD in a related subject, not quite in philosophy. For example, here we have Aliena, who went to go to the University of Maastricht in the Netherlands, and she took not quite philosophy, but a PhD program in health, ethics, and society. So kind of, but other students have gone to, for example, William, British student, he went to study philosophy in University of Melbourne, Australia. Trinu, she went to the University of Vienna, and Jing Hei went to Columbia University in New York City, and many other places in the world. So I don't want to like now just, but this is just to say that at least many of our students have chosen this kind of career path, and they've been quite successful when they chose that path. Okay, but of course, the other option is to use your philosophical skills or philosophical knowledge, so to speak, to take the big wide world. So we have had graduates who went to work in the IT sector. One particular graduate student went to work at this company called Starship Technologies. They are the people who produce these delivery robots, which deliver mail and packages and parcels and stuff like that, and they're based in Tallinn. Other students are working for the main Estonian newspaper, Postimees, including one Estonian student, but also one not Estonian student wrote several articles for Postimees. And some of our students have gone on to work for governmental institutions like the UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, and in particular the Estonian National Commission for UNESCO in Tallinn. So as you can see, there is the job market doesn't look too bad for people who graduate from our program. Okay, last thing I want to give you just a memo about the admissions process, right? I invite you to visit our website, ut.ee/philosophy. The deadline, like other programs, is 15th of March. You need to have a BA diploma by June or July, but I stress that the BA doesn't have to be in philosophy. In fact, I think every year we receive half applications are from philosophy graduates, half applications are from non-philosophy graduates. And in my experience, non-philosophy graduates have caught up with the others. And to be honest, I think they've actually been even more successful later or during the master studies and also later than philosophy graduates, right? And the admission basis is based on 3 pieces. One is the motivation letter and the writing sample that you need to submit when you actually apply. On the basis of those 2, so we're gonna give you some grades based on the motivation letter and the writing sample. On the basis of that, we'll invite you for an interview, which again is going to be, of course, online. The top 8 candidates will not pay university fees. 4 places are reserved for European candidates, including Switzerland and the other countries like Norway and so on. And 4 are reserved for non-EU candidates. Okay. Did I go mute again? No. Great. Okay.
No.
Now the top 2, maybe 3, but I cannot make promises really here. But the top 2 or 3 will also receive a maintenance grant, which will allow you actually to live quite comfortably in a place like Tartu. So the next thing to do is just to visit us on Facebook, and if you have any questions, write to this address, tartuphilosophy@ut.e, and I will personally answer. But of course, you're welcome to ask me any questions right now.
Thank you very much, Francesco, for so detailed description why our applicants should choose a program in philosophy. Please, I will encourage you to leave your questions. We will take them over after all presentations are done. And right now we are gonna continue with Riley, and Riley is gonna talk about European languages and cultures.
Hi, so I'm also happy to see you, or actually not see you, hear you here in this presentation session today. And I will try to tempt you to study in the MA program of European languages and cultures, and by doing that, to join our multilingual and multicultural family of staff and students at the College of World Languages and Cultures. When you look at that label, you might be, first of all, looking at, what does this mean? We are, in some ways, the traditional language and culture program. In other words, we are teaching foreign languages and literatures written in those foreign languages and the cultures that surround the foreign languages. With the hope that this knowledge and skills help you as graduates become mediators between cultures. What that obscure phrase means is that we hope that you will not only speak the language, but you will be able to understand the different cultural traditions and create links. In other words, for example, explain French culture to Estonians, explain American culture to the Ukrainians, whatever combination of cultures you're interested in. For that, we are offering you not just our classes, but also the community of scholars of our college and of all Faculty of Humanities, because you will be able to take classes in semiotics or philosophy as well as in our foreign languages. Plus, you will be able to participate in the research work of the college. So the core of our program really is in what usually in English-speaking countries is called modern and classical languages. Modern languages meaning English, French, Spanish, German, Scandinavian languages, and Russian. And then side by side, we also have the root system, so to say, in the heritage of Latin and Greek. However, we at this point do not offer classical languages through the English language media. So what distinguishes us from the other programs that have been introduced to you today is that we actually are not an English language program only. We actually teach in classes in English, but also in French, in Spanish, in Russian, in German, and in Swedish, so that you will be entering a much more diverse world, so to say. And because in our research too, we kind of study old stuff. So we have a research group, for example, that is dedicated to classics, especially the humanities in Northern Europe. But we also have research groups that deal with very contemporary issues. For example, I myself run a research program that looks into the representability of crisis, which of course during COVID-19 has become more topical than would be expected. Plus we have a very strong emphasis in linguistics, especially on digital humanities. So in our program, as well as in our research, we're trying to weave this connection between historical roots and contemporary reality. So when you enter the program, do not think that we will only sort of stop talking about the world that ended in the 19th century. We very much want to take you up to the 21st century with our classes, as well as with our different research activities. So we build on the core of modern and classical languages and historical heritage, but we give you a lot of flexibility for building different study paths. So like Francesco already showed you that box that you can put together with your supervisor. Our box is maybe not as capacious as the philosophy box, but we can accommodate students with very different needs. So for example, right now we have students who basically take the core classes and then spend the rest of the time in digital humanities and do not work with literature of their free time. And side by side with that, we have people who work only with literature and just take the core classes. So we can have very different ways of building up your personal career. In addition, academic studies, meaning going to classes, doing papers, going to research conferences, we also emphasize the need for practical training, because although, of course, the PhD path is available for many applicants, that is not available to all applicants. And we try to offer you a way of testing your skills and knowledge in different real life situations. For us, real life means doing something other than being a student. In other words, like I think Francesco also mentioned, you can help in some academic organizational things, but we really truly encourage people to go out into the field, do something in the real world. And I will speak about some things that our students have done later on. So the specialties, differently from the other programs that you're going to hear about today, we really have a rich array of specialties. We offer 6 of them: English, French, Spanish, or German language and literature, then Scandinavian languages and literatures, Russian and Slavic philology, and then classical philology. As I already said, classical philology, because of the small size of the program right now, is only open to people who have some proficiency of Estonian. So in these all specialties, as I already mentioned, you will be learning in the language of the specialty. Not in classical philology, but that doesn't probably concern all of you. In other words, you would be, if you enter English program, you will be taking English classes. If you enter the French specialty, you will be taking classes in French. So this is a very important element to consider. For example, when you want to enter this program, you really should have, if you want to, for example, study Russian, you have to come in with proficiency in Russian, because all classes already are in Russian. You're expected to write essays in Russian, and of course, you will have to write that massive MA thesis at the end in Russian. So at least B2 level of the language of this specialty is required. You will be able to, of course, improve on your language. And in particular with Russian, we have had very good experiences with international students, for example, from Italy, but also from Czech Republic, working on the Russian proficiency in Estonia, but also sometimes doing mobility in other countries. For example, we had an Italian student spend a semester in St. Petersburg to study Russian. We offer this kind of ability to build up your language level in the specialty in different ways in all of our departments. In all specialty modules, we have some differences depending on the research foci of the departments. In other words, we don't do slightly different things, but we all teach some linguistics, some literature, and some culture. side by side with some transferable skills, primarily academic writing in the different languages that we talk about, and different forms of critical reading, because again, the rhetorical traditions can be quite different from culture to culture. In the specialty module, we kind of give you, to continue Francesco's sort of a metaphor, a menu fixe. So you get the set of required courses, which we assume everybody needs to be able to start building something on top of it. On top of that compulsory specialty model, you can make very many different choices depending on your academic interests, but also your career interests. We have had students who really have very deep academic interests, so they know that they want to do a PhD in, let's say, linguistics, and they pick a career path according to that. And we have also had students who basically do not want to do a research and who therefore make a very practical career path. For example, go into project management and therefore take completely different classes, as I already mentioned before. One of the first things that you can pick is the graduate school. We share this with philosophy, semiotics, and also with folklore research. And what distinguishes us from the other humanities programs is that we allow you to dip into two graduate schools, either in linguistics and translation studies or in the humanities, depending on what your interests are. And you see a kind of a set of courses that allow you to build your interdisciplinary capacity well, depending on your interest, linguistics or translation studies. Both of the graduate schools contain classes both in Estonian and in English. And of course, you will be able to pick the courses on the basis of your language proficiency. The great value of this is that you will meet students from other programs, and you will be able to build your interdisciplinary capacity and also to basically get to know subjects that maybe are not offered in your specialty. Each year, I send students of our program to Semiotics because there are very many interesting things that are being done in contemporary culture. Every year also, I send them to philosophy classes because sometimes the right class is not in your own specialty. You might find it somewhere else. So the graduate school is your first possibility of branching out from your own department. But you also have a big elective module. Where you can take a set of classes from any other curriculum that is taught in English or any other language that you can speak, basically, at the college or elsewhere. We really make very few restrictions in this area. And this is where, for example, you can, if you're interested in doing digital humanities, you can just take classes in different forms of programming in IT department and in also other specialties of the humanities. Or you can, for example, if you plan to go into international relations, you can forget about all of the humanities classes and you can take the elective module in communication studies, for example, or in international relations. We leave this module very open so that people can shape different study paths. Very important element of this elective module is the international mobility module. Very many of our students do go abroad for a semester. We encourage this very heavily because there is no better way of learning a foreign language than being in an international environment. And even if you don't go to the the environment where the specific specialty language is taught, it is always important and useful to participate in mobility. In our case, we even have a double degree program with the University of Lyon in France for students specializing in French and in Russian. In other departments, there are smaller mobility paths, and we have many partners in most European countries. So we really emphasize mobility as an option for our students. Unfortunately, of course, COVID-19 has made many changes in that. But even in this semester, we have one student in mobility. Last semester, we had one student in mobility. So even in the difficult times, we have tried to encourage some form of leaving our university. This is one thing that maybe distinguishes us from other programs. Whatever you do, we assume that you are a mature human being who knows what you want from life, and you use the elective module to build a focused skill set, an academic skill set or practical skill set. In addition to that, you get the optional module, something that has been mentioned by others, which means you really can take anything. You can do painting, as Francesco said, you can do folk dance, but we hope that you fill it with something that is maybe supportive of your studies. For example, studying foreign language or something of a similar kind. many of our students, for example, take Estonian and different entrepreneurial skills, because as mentioned earlier, although we hope that many of you will go to academia, we know that in realistic sense, many of you will need to find other ways of establishing yourself. I mentioned practical training. So in order to be able to join that world outside of academia, you need to get some experience of the real world. And we try to adapt the practical training to the needs of students. So again, for example, 2 years ago, I placed one student who was interested in gender in a policy analysis center in Estonia. And she ended up writing a white paper for them and found part-time job through that. This semester, we had one student working at the dean's office of the university, analyzing the way in which the interface with international students works. What we offer depends on what people want to become. We have usually, like in the other programs as well, tended to place people in different admin jobs. And in our case, admin jobs that require intercultural competence. So abilities to speak foreign languages, to write in foreign languages, interact, write campaigns, and so on and so forth. So I have already mentioned the main things. The one important element in your practical training is your ability to speak the languages in which the particular job requires you to speak in. And because all of our students are multilingual, we are usually able to find something for them that takes advantage of that multilingual capacity. And finally, like in all of the curricula, we also have the master's thesis or master's project. We allow people to graduate with a traditional thesis, which is a 30-credit research paper, independent research, or also a project where you do something practical and analyze that practical project in your write-up, so to say. The majority of our students do the thesis at this point, and it's kind of a substantial work with a supervisor that is spread out over 2 years. Differently from some other programs, we actually divide the work on the thesis over 3 semesters. With the project, it's a little bit more demanding thing. It requires knowing some field very well, and so that we negotiate with students each year independently, because it's a high risk thing. It's like a venture capital thing. There is a high risk of success, but also the possibility of failure. So we want to make sure students have a good experience. So thesis is for the research-oriented students and project for those with applied interests. And you will make that choice with your supervisor and your program director. We offer different kinds of support. There is a master's seminar in the specialty in the first semester, with other specialties in the second and third semester, and with your supervisor in the final semester. There's always the program director, currently me. You have your supervisor, you have your coordinator, and the Study Abroad Center offers different kinds of support as well. Currently, the College of Foreign Languages and Cultures is situated in this old historical building in the most beautiful part of the university campus, the Cathedral Hill. It provides you with good exercise when you move between classes of the other humanities department. Very good for your cardio, fitness as well. What you need for admission, you need to have a bachelor's degree, but not necessarily in the specialty. We do not require, for example, that you have a BA in English in order to study English. If you come with a different BA, you have to be willing to take some extra classes to catch up with your work. For example, we in the English specialty right now have a student who came with a background in law from Australia and has been able to almost finish her studies. So it's possible to build on very different BAs. You do have to prove English language proficiency. The acceptable tests and exempt categories are very clearly explained on the university's admission page, so please refer to that. We do not make any exceptions to the university's rules. Then, as I already mentioned, you have to have proficiency in the language of the specialty, but we do not require a test for that. You prove that during the admission exams. And as with all other Tartu programs, you may apply before you have completed your BA degree. So we accept you conditionally, and you will be fully accepted when your degree is completed. very quickly, what we are requiring you to do for admission is, first of all, to write a motivation letter in English, in which you explain why you want to study the specialty at Tartu. So obviously, this is a very important part of the package, because we want to see whether you have a deep interest in the field, or whether our choice seems quite random. Then the essay in the language of the chosen specialty then is written in English, French, Spanish, German, Swedish, and you will have to prove your ability not just to write in this language, but also your command of the rhetorical traditions of the language. You probably all know that we write essays in English slightly differently than people do in French. In the classics, the test is sort of the admission essay is replaced by a translation into Estonian. So once again, I'm not going to touch upon that. And finally, there is an admission interview, which is again in the language of the specialty, in which we test your ability to speak in English, French, German, Russian, and so on. So you kind of, for admission, have to prove your ability to write in English, because in addition to your specialty, you do have to take some classes in English, and you have to be able to write and speak in the language of your chosen specialty. These are the kind of the most important criteria. We at this point have 22 positions, because in our program, differently from many other specialties, we have lots of Estonian students in addition to international students. It is actually one of the, I would say, selling points of our program. We have more tuition waiver scholarships for citizens from the European Union and the European Economic Area, so that we are able to take in. We don't have a parallel Estonian language program, so there are more of these positions. We have only 2 tuition waiver scholarships for citizens from outside the EU, so that's a very competitive set of scholarships. Plus, you're able to apply for one of the paid positions. The current fee at the University of Tartu is 2,000 euros per semester, and this is something that unfortunately we cannot change. And so the current deadlines are the same for all our specialties and also for all of the other programs in Tartu. So I hope everybody who's interested has already looked at the essay topics. If you haven't, please do it today. All of the essay topics are demanding, because we know that you have a month to read the essay topic, to think about it and write it up. So get yourself going. The deadline is March 15th. And at this point, the university gives the final admission results in May. If something changes as a result of COVID-19, that will be made known finally at some point. And all I can say is welcome. This is a picture of our college library, and you can see that we take care of you, not just by providing you with books, but also a warm and embracing blanket. I, like all other program directors, I'm going to hang around, and I will be happy to take any specific questions on the program or any specialties. So thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to seeing at least some of you in our program.
Thank you very much, Riley, for describing so much in details the curriculum of your program and the admission process. I also remind you that you can leave your questions. I can see that we have received some, so we are going to cover them in the end. And right now, I'm going to give a floor to Elohanna, who is going to talk about folkloristics and the applied heritage studies. So Elo, please.
Thank you. Let me just pull up the slides. I'm glad to be to have colleagues who have spoken before me, so that they've covered some of the territories already, because there's a lot of ground that we share. So yes, so the next 15 minutes or so is going to be dedicated to the Folkloristics and Applied Heritage Studies Master's Program, and currently I'm the director of this program. Yes, so, and again, you have our main building and the sky is blue, so there is evidence that and proof that we have sunny days, more than just the one day when the image that Francesco shared with you was that he had in his presentation. And here's the main building from another angle. And that's one of the walls of the Institute of Cultural Research. And the Institute of Cultural Research is one of the units that is responsible for the Folkloristics and Applied Heritage Studies program. It's a joint undertaking by several departments, and that's one of the things that makes this program unique. So we have the departments of Ethnology and Folkloristics, and then also Department of Native Crafts from the Viljandi Culture Academy. And the Viljandi Culture Academy is one of the regional colleges of the University of Tartu. And it's an English language program, as you may have guessed by now. And the duration is the same as with others. So ideally it's 4 semesters or 2 years. And during this time, you ought to collect 120 credit points. Our students take classes in 2 towns. So it's in Tartu and also in Viljandi, and Viljandi is located 80 kilometers from Tartu. And those who take courses in Viljandi are specializing in the study and application of heritage of crafts. While in Tartu, we focus more on analysis of folklore and cultural heritage. Just a second. So some of the program highlights. Our program aims to be a critical and constructive response to the heritage pool that we are currently living. And we approach heritage as an economic and socio-cultural resource, and also as an economic resource. So how is it being used by various actors, and also how is heritage generated, because we're very much interested in processes of heritagization, how heritage is created and constructed rather than kind of given and found. And we are particularly interested in intangible cultural heritage, but not only. And we're one of the few programs in the world to offer a specialization in craft studies. Something we're very proud of is that it's our mission to focus on students and their chosen career paths. And that's something you have already heard from my colleagues, but I think that applies to the entire Faculty of Arts and Humanities, that we aim to be very student-centered, especially on the MA level, and to support and help students figure out what it is that they want to do. So in our program, we have a fairly large elective module, and I'll say more about it soon. And there's also a choice between a master's thesis or a master's project. And again, I'll bring some examples later. We also aim to give our students a set of transferable skills and diverse hands-on experiences. So students are required to either conduct fieldwork or to do practical trainings, or to do both. It's possible to combine it. And something, again, we're very proud of is the diversity of our program. So we accept between 8 and 15 students per year, and it's not rare for them to be from different countries of the world. So it's the diversity of the group itself is something that we build on as we are studying and analyzing culture and processes of creating heritage. We also have very many study abroad opportunities, and mobility is currently a bit complicated, but we remain very dedicated to the idea that mobility enhances greatly students' kind of experiences at the MA level and also later and earlier. And as other programs, we can offer tuition fee waivers for the very best applicants. Again, another highlight, and I wanted to have a separate slide for it, is that the program is closely affiliated with the UNESCO Chair on Applied Studies of Intangible Cultural Heritage. There are UNESCO chairs worldwide, and a university, it's kind of UNESCO gives university the permission to open a UNESCO chair. And the chairs are related to UNESCO's fields of competence, and one of them is cultural heritage. And in recent years in particular, UNESCO has been paying increasing attention to relationships between higher education and cultural heritage. So currently in the world, there are 8 chairs in the field of intangible cultural heritage, and they constitute a network, and University of Tartu is hosting one of these chairs and is part of this network. And the chair holder is Professor Kristin Gutma, whose research focuses in particular on heritage policies and cultural heritage and identity. And you can read more about it online, about the chair and its activities. And a few words about the structure of the curriculum. So all of our students have to pass a general course module, which consists of fairly large courses that aim to give kind of basics in the theory of heritage, heritagization, and more broadly, vernacular culture. And then also the methods for studying these fields and related problems. So it's basically basics in ethnographic research. And also part of this general course module are MA seminars. We have 4 of them, and the aim is to support students throughout their 2 years with us and to gradually develop the topic of their MA thesis or project. And we have found that this gradual development helps students to make the most of this process and experience. And students have choose between 2 specialization modules. So one is more focused on the analysis of folklore and cultural heritage, and the other one is focused on the study and application of the heritage of crafts, and that's based in Viljandi. Then everybody has to pass a practical training module that has courses in entrepreneurship and project management, and also this fieldwork or internships course. And in this module, as elsewhere, we very much support students to figure out what it is that they want to do. Where do they see themselves in 5 years or 10 years, and then to choose courses and also to build their internships and practical training around their long-term goals and plans. And these plans, when students are kind of tailoring them, then they have support from the program director, from supervisor, we also have a coordinator, and then of course fellow students. That's something I like to emphasize, that students learn a lot from themselves and by collaborating with each other. Our elective course module is quite large, as I already said. It's 18 credit points. And again, the starting point is students' individual interests and goals. And this optional course module where you can do anything, but the sincere hope of me and my colleagues is that you will do something that will benefit you in the longer run. As I mentioned earlier, we very much encourage mobility. And those of you who decide and are successful in going abroad, you can kind of design a mobility module, and this mobility module is filled with courses you take abroad, and then you need to take a bit less courses in some of the modules in Tartu. And finally, to complete the program and to earn your degree, you need to do either a master's thesis, which is a traditional kind of piece of research based on your fieldwork and collection of empirical data and analysis thereof. Or you can do a practically oriented master's project. And so far, it looks like it's as the more capable and more ambitious students in our program who choose to do a master's project. And when they do a project, then it exceeds the requirements and sometimes in wild ways. But the feedback from students has been very positive, and they feel like they have really learned and acquired skills that will help them after they're done with their master's studies. And I think it's a format that keeps intriguing students and faculty alike. And I'll bring some examples soon. So it's very exciting things that our students have done. Yes, so here are the examples. So students graduating with an MA project, they have one student recently wrote a book based on her ethnographic research in the Pamirs. Then there was somebody who created the database and a website to go with it. Somebody did a series of podcasts. There have been exhibitions. One student is working on setting up his own company. There have been kind of educational materials and tools. So it's very, very different formats, and something in a way it's a challenging and fascinating genre, this MA project. And it doesn't mean that you're making an intellectual discount. Sometimes it's even more challenging, but in non-traditional ways. And then to have a quick look at our MA thesis, in a way they're all over the place. They are from very different parts of the world, from Asia to various parts of Europe. You can have past and present. It can be based on archival data or fieldwork, draw on different methods and theoretical frameworks. And I guess it's a selected list of MA theses completed so far also gives an idea of the wide variety of topics that our faculty is working on. We have a set of, we very much encourage students to get involved and to get hands-on experiences also by means of presenting at various conferences, volunteering for organization of conferences and events and workshops. So there are a series of events that take place every year or every 2 years. Some of them at our good partners. For example, the Estonian National Museum is one institution. We collaborate a lot, but there are also others, and various events are also organized by students for students. So it's an opportunity to kind of hone academic skills, but also organizing skills. And the departments responsible for this program, so the departments of ethnology, folklore studies, native crafts in Viljandi, are also themselves very active and kind of participating in various networks, organizing events. We very often host guest lectures and have been doing so also at the time of the corona. So we've had online lectures and hopefully we'll be having real kind of physical visitors who can actually make it to Tartu soon as well. So it's a very, very vibrant scene, and usually you have more things going on than you have time to kind of attend. And here's a list of some of the current and recent research projects that our faculty is involved in. So some are working on religious studies, others are focusing more closely on heritage-related issues and also heritage, contested heritage and conflicts surrounding heritagization. Again, geographically, it's various areas. Then there is just the project that started focuses on museums and more broadly in the Baltic region. And then, yes, so I hope you will have access to these slides later and you can kind of read it in peace and think about it and have a look at the website where you can find more information about our faculty. Then there are two journals that are close to the program. One of them is Journal of Ethnology and Folkloristics, which is edited and published in Tartu. And it's a joint undertaking of the University of Tartu, Estonian National Museum and Estonian Folklore Archives. And then another journal, Studia Vernacula, which is published in Viljandi and is dedicated to material culture. And for example, some outstanding student work has later been developed into articles in Studia Vernacula. So if you're motivated and interested and see yourself in academia, or at least doing a PhD, then it's good to have publications, and there have been good examples of students developing their thesis into an academic article. Then we are, as I already mentioned, we have good colleagues and kind of among various universities and academics in the wide world. And I was just to bring some examples from the US. So Dorothy Noyes, who was recently the president of the American Folklore Society, has visited us on several occasions. And she had something nice to say about the program, and I just wanted to share it with you. So it's important to have these critical and practical perspectives to cultural heritage and processes of heritagization, because it is very much a thing that is not only in the academia, but affecting societies in various ways, and politics and economy, and they all kind of meet. Sorry. And a few words about what our students have done. It's a fairly new program. We accepted the first cohort only in 2017. So the first students graduated in 2019. And so far, some of them have continued on the PhD level. And we support students as they are applying into PhD programs as well. So if this is in your mind, then make sure to share your plans with the faculty so that we can support you in adequate ways. We also see our graduates as experts and mediators in the field of cultural heritage, and this can mean working for various NGOs, but also working for ministries of culture back home, for example. And these are also the places where our students have done internships at, for example, at an institution in the home country where that is responsible for heritage-related matters. And we also prepare for students for working in museums and archives. Another growing field that we are that we can prepare students for is applied anthropology, and we collaborate closely with the Estonian Center for Applied Anthropology that was actually created by alumni of folklore and ethnology departments. Some of our students are determined to become self-employed. We have students who come to kind of return to university after having done other things in life, and they have a clear goal in mind what they want to do, and they want to be their own employers. So this is also something we want to support, and that's why our students have to take courses in entrepreneurship and also project management. Many feel drawn to education, and especially community education or lifelong education. and also various media skills. And this is not only about writing, but also, for example, creating podcasts or being experimental. So we very much encourage students to pursue their dreams and to kind of think out of the box. And so far, it's been kind of inspiring to see what our graduates do and what they kind of hope to do. So some links with where you can find more information. And I highlighted the program website address in green because a lot of information can be found there. For example, admission requirements. There's a motivation letter, and now for the first time we're also doing interviews, and you can find information on the website there how to prepare. First and foremost, we want students to be motivated to learn about the broad field of heritage and to be kind of intrigued by it. It's not required to have a prior background in ethnology or folklore studies or cultural anthropology or heritage studies. Our students come from diverse backgrounds, and it's an enriching experience for everybody, students and faculty alike, when we kind of get together and get to talk about heritage related matters. And if you have more questions, then you're very welcome to email me. We also have a general email address. And this image is of an Estonian goat, and it was made by one of our alumni who, for her MA project, created an exhibition about goat herding and artisanal goat milk products in Estonia. And the exhibition was first on display at the Estonian National Museum, and since the summer it's been touring Estonia, so one never knows what kind of grows out of one's master's project. But that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johanna, for so detailed presentation about folkloristics and heritage studies. We are going to proceed with our presentations, and the next one is going to be about sound and visual technology, and it is going to be presented by Kadri. We are beyond the schedule a little bit, so we are going to try to take over your questions in a written form, so please pay attention on the answers on your questions, and then the rest we will try to cover after the last presentation. So Kadri, the floor is yours.
Hello, and I try to share my screen. I hope it's visible to all. I am here to talk about Sound and Visual Technology Master's Program, which is taught in Viljandi Culture Academy in Tartu University, though, and I tried to be quite brief. Sorry, I have some problem in here somehow. Okay, it started to work. About Viljandi Culture Academy in general, we are one institute of Tartu University, and we have altogether 8 study programs, which 3 of them are MA programs, and only one is taught in English, and that's this sound and visual technology we are talking about. We have altogether almost 700 students and approximately 100 employees. And what we are doing in Viljandi, as the name says, that it's Viljandi Culture Academy, we are dealing with the music, theatre, dance, creative entrepreneurship, different technologies like sound and visual technology or stage technology as well, cultural management, national handicraft, so all these creative and cultural related areas. We are situated in different buildings, so there is kind of selection of our buildings which are situated not far from each other, but still in different locations in Viljandi. But as Viljandi is quite small town, it's quite good to exchange sometimes the building and to go, for example, to the music house, which is this gray house in the left corner, or to the Vilma building, which is this brick building, and it all comes together in the main building. First thing I want to say is that Viljandi is not in Tartu. It's sometimes confused by applicants that they are applying to the Tartu University, but we are situated like 80 kilometers from Tartu. I am glad that Elo-Hanna already stressed it. And also like 160 kilometers from Tallinn. So not too far at all, 1 hour drive from Tartu and 2 hours from Tallinn. And the connections with the bus and train from Tallinn are very good. But it's important to understand that our teaching and learning takes place in Viljandi. What can I say about Viljandi? Viljandi is a cozy small town, and actually this combination of creative body of students, teachers, and beautiful nature is a perfect place where to be, like laboratory-like conditions, and to, for example, to deal with a project you really want to do. About this MA program, like all others, it's 120 credit points and hopefully 2-year program, ideally. And it has 2 specializations. You can either specialize on sound technology or to visual technology. I have marked here per semester which subjects are taught, and maybe where in per semester where this stressing is more like. And in the first semester, actually, this is quite similar or common, that the first semester is more like general subjects. You can see here some theoretical, for example, audiovisual culture and semiotics, and also practical and theoretical project management. But you can start in the first semester already some very specific subjects like sound and visual arts project, which is one of the core specialty subjects, and which is taught together for both specialties, because it's combining 2 sides together and work together. But it's also possible to take some optional courses. For example, visual programming has been very popular and very interesting subject. In the second semester, you will continue in the same way some general subjects, but also continue with specialty general subjects. And you can now elect some more and maybe more specific optional courses. For example, you can choose whether to have graphic and motion design or mixing and mastering. And actually, it is not like sound technology guys or girls only have to choose mixing and mastering of music, but they can also choose this graphic and motion design, which is also beneficial for sound technology specialty. Third semester, there is stage production subject, which is very important because one of the areas we can see our graduates is theater or some concert organization, and you should be able to take care and take responsibility for all the processes which are connected with the sound or visual technology. And also there is possibility to get acquainted with the entrepreneurship studies, which is also one of our key features in Viljandi. We want that all our graduates are familiar with the entrepreneurial mindset, and ideally they can start their own business. And we start also with a master seminar. And the last semester is actually dedicated to the master thesis or master project. There's 2 possibilities to graduate, and master project is more practical or creative or whatever kind of oriented project with a written part, of course, and master thesis is a classical master thesis. Written and defended. So we have possibilities to do either of them. Why study in our program? I sound like some salesman, but it's okay, I think. I think that most important why to choose our master program is the mix of this creativity, practicality, and connectivity. I mean that you have a chance to work together with our bachelor students. Among them are dancers, musicians, different kind of very creative persons, and you have this material to work with, because sound and visual technology are not subjects on their own. They can only happen when there are also some creative persons who are doing something or performing something, and then sound and visual technology student or professional can do something. So that's our strength, that we have actors, dancers, musicians you can work with. And we have a great variety of styles as well you can work with, because we teach in the bachelor level folk music or traditional music, rhythm music or jazz, contemporary dance and classical dance. So contemporary theatre and classical one. So we have very wide variety of styles you can choose from. And always we are kind of supporting creative mindset of students. Our program is towards very practical approach, and it happens always hands-on. So from the first semester you have access actually our environments and studios. You can work individually or supervised. You can use our good technical base and to use our buildings and studios to make your ideas reality. And connectivity, it means really what I said already, that our bachelor and MA students are very strongly related, and they do all the projects together, and there's endless possibilities actually. Also important is that we have possibilities for internship, quite wide, because we have a lot of connections with the private sector and also with the public sector of media organizations or sound and visual companies or theaters or just name it. And of course, we encourage also to go to have this internship somewhere abroad. For example, from today's students, one student made his internship in Prague in different studios. And of course, if you don't want to go abroad because you already are abroad, you can do it in Viljandi as well, because in Viljandi, besides Culture Academy, we have a professional theatre and professional concert hall as well. So there's possibilities in here. And for me, if I would be the interested student, I think most important is the possibility to make super interesting and super creative MA project. We try to encourage to do whatever you want, and we try to support whatever ideas you have on this final thing you have in mind. Who should apply? We don't require diploma in sound or visual technology, but we really want to show that you are motivated and you have some experience on the field. We also consider some self-taught professionals very carefully, and then find this kind of experience very good. So this overall score will consist of 25% of your motivation letter, where you can show that you're really interested in this program, and then what is your main aim to apply into this program. Also very important is to prepare portfolio, which is basically, it's often asked what the portfolio is, but it's basically some selection of your best works and experiences on the field. You can collect it together to the website, or I don't know, to YouTube playlist if you have some videos or sound examples. And for us also, it is important that you are able to explain what is your role in this each of your portfolio samples, because sometimes students present some, I don't know, for example, musical video, and they are quite unable to explain what they did in this video. But you should be prepared to explain that, for example, you did the montage, or you did sound recording or sound mixing, or I don't know, acted in the video or whatever. And this portfolio will be thoroughly investigated and discussed during the interview, which gives most of the score. So please also prepare for the interview, where we ask about your experience, your portfolio, ask to maybe clarify some motivational matters, and so on. And it's nice that we have this heart of culture, and we like to say in Viljandi that culture lives here. And if we have some time, I haven't wasted, I think, the whole time. I want to show you very short video about Viljandi that maybe it is interesting for you to see. It's only like 1.5 minutes, so I hope you can see it.
Viljandi is an idyllic small town on a beautiful lakeside and is well known for its vibrant cultural scene. Viljandi Culture Academy is a part of the University of Tartu, which ranks among the world's top universities. There are 4 departments in the academy, where renowned instructors and professionals teach performing arts, culture education, music, and Estonian native crafts. We unite traditional and modern approaches, merge local with international, combine science with creative arts, and integrate theory and practice. The people in the Culture Academy are active and creative and value cooperation between different specializations, which often results in numerous exhibitions, concerts, performances, cultural events, and festivals. An alumnus of the Viljandi Culture Academy will have an amazing network of contacts and like-minded people with whom to collaborate on different creative projects. Viljandi Culture Academy inspires, creates, and unites.
So that's all from my side. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward for the questions.
Thank you very much, Kadri, for your presentation and for showing us actually the video, which gives us a better overview. So right now we are going to open a Q&A session. So we were trying right now to answer as many questions as possible in written form because we are beyond the schedule. But right now I will proceed to the questions which were not answered. And the first question is going to be addressed to semiotics. So Ellie, maybe you can take it over. So what subjects would you define as the key subjects in the semiotics course in Tartu?
Yes, thank you. I was hoping maybe it's okay if I share my screen for just one more moment to answer this question. So here you can see the key subjects would be the basic courses in the module and also the specialized courses. So the courses in the basic module are the ones that you're required to take. And in the specialized courses, you can either take all of the courses or leave out one course from each module. So I would say that these courses would be the defining ones, so to say.
Thank you very much, Ellie, for your answer. The next question is going to be addressed to Francesco, philosophy. So regarding the 6E CTS practice, would there be any student internship available within the Department of Philosophy? This is the first question. And then the second question within this, the same question. Could I write a MA thesis based on a single case study, legal validity of each case national security law in the view of legal positivism?
Yeah, so regarding the practice, yeah, there will be internships on a case by case basis. So there's a person, a member of staff who is especially in charge of assigning practice like tasks. So yeah, that's going to be covered. And regarding the master's thesis on, for example, on the legal validity of Hong Kong national security law, that sounds like a very nice topic to me. So it's perfectly fine to take and discuss like philosophically some empirical, some real world case study like this one. Thanks for this question.
Thank you, Francesco. The next question is going to be addressed to Riley. And this question is, there are actually several questions, but this one, are there opportunities for practical training in psycholinguistics for students who want to go to a PhD program?
So the answer that depends on what language you're interested in, because it depends on whether anybody in the department works on language acquisition, for example. In English, we do have scholars working on child language and especially learner English, but it depends very much on what specialty. So you can write me privately and I will try to put you in touch with the scholars who work on this.
Sorry, there was one question before this by Luo Yufeng.
Just
Can
a
you see
second.
that one?
I'm trying just to see the question which are addressed to different programs. Which one do you mean? Before this, right?
Yeah, before the one about psycholinguistics, there was one.
Sorry, Francesco. So question.
That's okay. It's okay. I actually wanted to answer privately, but I pressed the wrong button. So, but there was a very important question actually, whether students need to study online in the fall. And my answer is that we expect students to come to Tartu as soon as they're able to, right? But during the fall semester, it should be possible to study in a hybrid way. So with some student in class, hopefully we'll be able to be in class, right? And some students who cannot travel, right? Then attending remotely. So that's what I'm gonna say at the moment, right? There was a second question here, whether the list of universities that students can exchange is fixed, or does it change? I can exchange to is fixed, or the exchange every. Well, it's kind of fixed, but it may change, but not next year. So there's a link on our website about study abroad, and you can go and check that out about the list of universities. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I think on this we have to finish our webinar because we are running out of time. But I would like to ensure you that you're going to receive within 3 days, you're going to receive the recording and you are going to receive all the presentations with the contacts of program managers and their representatives. So you are going to be able to contact everyone with your questions, because I can see that we basically mainly covered all the study relation questions and there are only admission related questions. So I invite you all to join our webinars about the admission process to the University of Tartu. I just shared the link in our chat, so please join us and learn more about the admission process from the admission expert. So please apply to programs in arts and humanities, and hope to see you soon.